Mapletown, Illinois was the kind of town where nothing happened. People left their doors unlocked. Everyone knew each other's business. And the most exciting thing all year was the county fair. But that changed on the night of September 17th. It started with a light, blinding white, hovering just above the cornfields on the outskirts of town. Sheriff Tom Grayson was patrolling Route 12 when his radio crackled with static, followed by the panicked voice of Deputy Lewis. "Sheriff, you seeing this?" Tom squinted. The light pulsed, shifting colors. White, then blue, then a deep, unnatural red. His patrol car sputtered, the engine cutting out. Then everything went dark. By the time Tom woke up, he was slumped over the wheel, the car clock blinking 2:13 a.m. A deep hum filled the air, like something massive had just left. The radio was dead, the air smelled like burnt metal, and his head throbbed. Then he saw the fields. Huge scorched circles marred the cornfields, the plants flattened in perfect, swirling patterns. He stumbled out, flashlight in hand, scanning the area. The town's power grid must have been hit. Mapletown was in total darkness. Tom reached for his radio, static, then a voice. "They're still here." It wasn't Lewis. Back in town, reports started flooding in. Mrs. Callahan, the store owner, swore she saw figures at the tree line, tall, thin shadows standing unnaturally still. Jimmy Reynolds, a mechanic, claimed his truck had stalled right as the lights appeared, and when it flickered back to life, his watch read 4:27 a.m. 2 hours were missing, but the strangest thing was the silence. No crickets, no owls. The next morning, Tom followed a set of tracks leading from the fields into town. Long imprints, skeletal, with pointed toes. The trail led him straight to the diner's back door. The prints weren't deep. Whoever or whatever left them was light, impossibly so. They moved in a straight line, no hesitation, as if they knew exactly where they were going. As Tom knelt to inspect them, a prickle ran up his spine. He wasn't alone. A breeze stirred, carrying a metallic scent. He looked up. Across the alley, beneath the dim glow of a street lamp, stood a figure, tall, thin, motionless, watching. Tom's breath caught. His hand moved to his holster. He blinked, and the figure was gone. Inside the diner, the early morning crowd was restless. Talk of the lights filled the air, and people whispered about the missing time, the strange figures. Then the door swung open. A man entered. He was tall, wearing a black suit, his skin too pale, his eyes too dark. He moved stiffly, like he wasn't used to walking. Tom felt every hair on his neck rise. The stranger slid into booth 5 and turned his head too slowly to look at the waitress. "I'll have the special," he said. His voice was off, flat, rehearsed. Surely the waitress hesitated. Sure thing, hon." Tom approached. "Morning. Passing through?" The man smiled, too wide. "I've always been here," he said. A flash of white outside the window. Tom turned for just a second. But when he looked back, the booth was empty. The coffee cup was still full, the eggs untouched. But on the table, scratched into the wood, were 2 words: "We see." The next day, it was like nothing had happened. The lights, forgotten. The missing time, unmentioned. Even the scorched fields seemed to fade overnight. Tom tried asking people, Mrs. Callahan, Jimmy, even Shirley at the diner. No one remembered. Even Deputy Lewis stared at him blankly when he asked about the radio call. That night, Tom went home and locked his doors, something he'd never done before. Sleep wouldn't come. At 2:13 a.m., a deep hum filled the air again. He got up, heart pounding, and looked outside. Across the street at booth 5 in the darkened diner, Someone was sitting there. Tom's breath hitched. He reached for his phone, his fingers trembling. But before he could dial, the figure in booth 5 turned its head. Too smoothly, too precisely. And then Tom understood. The lights were gone, but their presence remained. They had never left. They were here, among them.